A billionaire walks into one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, and not a single staff member can speak his language. What happens next changes everything. Picture this. You've got a man worth billions sitting at a white tablecloth table, dressed in a traditional Japanese kimono, arms crossed, face tight. He flew across the world for this dinner. A business deal worth millions is on the line, and the restaurant, completely frozen. The manager's sweating. The head waiter doesn't know what to do. Nobody, not one person on that entire floor, speaks a single word of Japanese. The billionaire's patience is running out fast. And just when it looks like the whole thing is about to fall apart, a waitress walks over, and what she does next, nobody in that room saw it coming. Let's set the scene properly because context matters here. The restaurant is one of those places where a glass of water costs $12 and the chairs probably have their own names. The kind of place where powerful people come to close powerful deals. It was supposed to be a smooth evening. A Japanese billionaire, we'll call him Mr. Tanaka, had been flown in specifically to discuss a partnership deal with a group of American investors. His team had arranged everything. The dinner reservation, the private table near the window, the whole setup. What they forgot to arrange? A translator. Now here's the thing about high-level business. These people are used to getting exactly what they want, exactly when they want it. Mr. Tanaka didn't just expect the food to be good, he expected to be understood. He expected respect. And when he opened his mouth and the waiter standing in front of him just blinked back with a blank face, you could feel the temperature in that room drop. He tried again, slower this time. Still nothing. The American investors sitting across from him started shifting in their seats. One of them pulled out his phone, probably searching for a translation app, which, let's be real, was never going to cut it in that situation. The manager came over. Same result. He smiled, nodded, and understood absolutely nothing. Mr. Tanaka's face had gone. From politely calm to visibly frustrated, he had stopped talking. He just sat there, staring at the menu he couldn't read in a room full of people who couldn't hear him. That silence was loud, and that's the moment that could have ended everything. A deal that took months to set up. A relationship that could have meant millions of dollars flowing between two major companies. All of it teetering on the edge, not because of money, not because of bad terms, but because nobody at a fancy restaurant bothered to think about something as basic as language. That's when she walked over. The waitress, young, quiet, someone who had probably been watching the whole situation unfold from across the room, approached the table. She didn't wait to be called over. She didn't ask the manager for permission. She just walked up, looked directly at Mr. Tanaka, and spoke. In Japanese. Not just basic phrases. Not hello and thank you that anyone picks up from an anime. She spoke full, proper, fluent Japanese. Clean sentences. The right tone. She even used the formal speech level, called keigo in Japanese, which is a more respectful way of speaking that you'd use with someone of high status. That's not something you learn from an app. That takes real study and real care. Mr. Tanaka blinked. For a second, he looked almost confused, like his brain needed a moment to catch up with what was happening. Then his face did something it hadn't done since he walked through that door. It relaxed. He sat up a little straighter. He responded. And for the next several minutes, the two of them talked like old friends at a kitchen table. She explained the menu. She asked about his preferences, whether he had any dietary restrictions, what kind of experience he was hoping for that evening. She translated back to the staff, smooth and calm, like she'd been doing it her whole life. The investors watched in stunned silence. The manager, who had been hovering nearby looking completely useless, quietly stepped back. So who was this woman? Turns out she'd spent 3 years living in Japan. She moved there right after college, taught English in Osaka, fell in love with the culture, and spent every spare moment studying the language. When she came back home, restaurant work was just something she was doing while figuring out her next move. She wasn't hiding anything. Nobody had ever asked. And that right there is the piece that hits hardest. She had this incredible skill. Fluent in Japanese, trained in cultural etiquette, someone who could have been in a meeting room, instead of carrying plates. And the only reason she got her moment was because the restaurant was desperate. Not because anyone thought to ask, hey, do any of our staff speak other languages? That question was never asked. The skill was never discovered. It was just sitting there, invisible, underneath a uniform. Mr. Tanaka ended up having one of the best evenings he'd had on the entire trip. The deal? It went forward. One of the investors later said the dinner turned into the real turning point in building trust with Mr. Tanaka's team. And when he left that night, he specifically asked for the waitress by name to pass along his thanks. She got a tip that was bigger than her monthly rent. But here's what this story is really about, and it's bigger than one dinner and one lucky tip. How many times do we walk past someone and assume we already know what they're capable of? How many people are sitting in rooms full of people who need exactly what they have, and nobody thinks to ask? Studies on workplace culture have shown over and over again that a huge chunk of employee skills go completely unused at work. People are multilingual and nobody knows. People have technical skills, creative skills, problem-solving skills, just sitting there, invisible, because the job description never asked for it. Mr. Tanaka was furious, and honestly, he had every right to be. Not because the staff were bad people, but because nobody planned. Nobody thought ahead. Nobody asked the right questions. One simple conversation before that evening could have changed everything from the start. But sometimes the thing that should have been prevented becomes the thing that teaches you the most. Because of that failure, the investors saw something they didn't expect. They saw a young woman handle an impossible moment with total grace. They saw Mr. Tanaka's walls come down, not because of a polished sales pitch, but because he finally felt heard. They saw what happens when a human connection cuts through all the noise. That dinner became a story everyone at that table told for years. And the waitress? She was headhunted 6 months later for a corporate liaison role working with Japanese clients. Full salary, travel included. Sometimes the room not speaking your language is exactly the opening you needed. Watch the next video on screen. You won't want to miss it.